Hey, welcome back to the Ace Football Academy. I am Coach Dunham, joined alongside Coach Hamilton. Folks, we are continuing our series of the state of U.S. soccer. We have already discussed Spain and Germany. Today we're going to dig into England, and today is England Grassroots game. Coach, we've done a little research on what's going on in England, and we're curious how some of these, notable nations are looking to the future to prepare their teams and their national teams and how they're going to improve or they're going to adapt and adjust. We saw what Spain did, completely revolutionizing their thing. Germany the same way. England's doing something really extremely different. And I think you and I on the same page, we kind of admire what they're doing because the U.S. needs this plan here.
Agreed. Yeah, Coach, I love how you kind of brought that up because and again, we'll dive into it, but I do like what England's doing. But I think if you switch it back to what we talked about with Spain and Germany, they're just a step ahead, maybe even 2 or 3 steps ahead from what England needs to do and what the United States needs to do. I pitched this to you off air right before we started recording, and you kind of agreed with me. I don't think you loved it, but you did kind of agree with me when, when it comes to the national team level, right? And that's what we're doing here. We're looking at, how are these countries or how did these countries fix their national team? When you look at it over the years, over the past, say, 20 years. I mean, so let's not go back a long way, but let's just say the last 20 years. Has England been more successful as a national team than the U.S.? The answer is yes. We're not arguing that. But I would argue that the success that England was supposed to have, and especially in really recent years, the success that they were supposed to, the things they were supposed to do in the last Olympics, the last World Cup, they have also underachieved. And maybe I'll get a little backlash from that. But I do think when you look at their roster, you look at, their coaching staff and things like that, England has underachieved the past 20 years when you go back and look at it. Sure. Now, are they still a step ahead of the U.S.? I think the answer to that is yes, right? But I don't think it is the gap between the U.S. and Spain. I don't think that gap between the U.S. and England is quite as large. And I think maybe as Americans, as American football supporters, that's where United States football supporters, that should be our next target. Let's match what England's doing and go from there.
Well, and I think the one difference that we need to make sure we're paying attention to is England's playing in UEFA.
Yeah.
The Americans are playing in CONCACAF.
Yeah.
Vastly different talent levels that they're playing up against. So when England gets to the semifinals of the European Championship and the Americans get to the final of the Gold Cup, we're talking about very different situations of disappointments and what level you should have achieved and what silverware you brought home.
Especially when you look at and maybe we can do a dive into this, but especially when you look at a Mexico side that over the past 5, 6, 7 years has really plummeted.
Oh,
I mean,
massively.
It used to be the American, we would beat Mexico. We'd be like, oh, that was a good win for us. Good job. Right. Now you go into that match, you're like, we better win this game.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, Coach, let's dig into what's going on in England. When we discuss Spain and Germany, one of the things that we've made sure to be focusing on is the coaching licenses. What does it take to grow as a coach? What are their expectations? And what is the cost of some of these things? So digging into the pathway of becoming a coach in England. The first one is the play phase. This is a free. I don't know of any American module that is free.
not.
is a free 90-minute course that anybody can sign up for. It's basically just giving you the basics of how to coach, how to pass it, how to receive it, how to kick it,
Right.
some of the rules of the game, possibly. And if there's one thing that our youth need between ages of 4 and 8, it's a thing like this, where it teaches mom and dad whose kid wants to play soccer and they have no freaking clue what soccer is all about. They need to be watching these things as a prerequisite before they go coach their team. But the Americans aren't setting this up for us.
Right. I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and go to your second bullet as well. I'm gonna bite my tongue until you get to your second bullet, which is ultimately their grassroots.
Sure. So it's called the E.E. Playmaker. Just like you said, is their grassroots. Again, it is a free 4 to 5 hour course. Coach, they have 2 free courses that they're offering basically moms and dads who want to coach their kids' soccer team at 4 to 6 years old. And they're giving them some fundamentals here. And I kind of admire them saying, hey, we don't need to make a profit off of these. We want to make sure that our youngest ages are being coached by not really informed, but just having an understanding of what they're stepping into.
I think informed is an okay word there. Like,
yeah, we'll go.
Maybe they can't do it, but they can at least say, hey, here's kind of what it's supposed to look like, right?
Absolutely.
So here's the reason I want to bite my tongue here, because
you want to go to the first one.
So now we've gotten 2 courses, right? We've got our play phase course and we've got our grassroots course.
Right.
So I've taken 2 coaching courses in England and it's cost me $0.
$0.
Coach, and it's been a lot of years, but many years ago when I did the grassroots course here in the United States, it was $25. Not a terrible, again.
How long was the course?
It was an online course, and it was sit down and get it done. It wasn't long. An hour, 90 minutes. Okay. Yeah, an hour, 90 minutes. $25. So again, you don't think of that as a huge ordeal. So I don't want to give a lot away, but we'll get into this. U.S. Soccer has revamped their coaching pathway, and so now we have what's called these grassroots courses, which is what we're talking about ultimately what England's doing, that are free. So now we do a 77, 99, 11 v 11 grassroots course, right?
Correct.
$90
per course.
I think it's. Don't quote me on that. We'll do some research before we drop. But even if it's $90 and you get all 3, it's still $90. Yeah. And I'm getting it in England for free, right? And so
now let me ask you this. The coaches that are watching this grassroots, the 77, the 99, are these select coaches or are these rec parents watching this?
We are.
I'm actually to assume your answer here.
My assumption would be they are select coaches who are trying to get involved in coaching.
Exactly.
Coaching.
And we're going to get into this, and I keep spitting this over and over again. This is why the Americans will continue to struggle to develop world-class players, because from the ages of 4 to 8 or 4 to 10, they're probably getting coaches that kind of know, half know, or just don't know what they're coaching, and they have developed all these bad habits. So I'm not going to get on another rant.
I know.
Let's dig into the third course here of the coaching pathway in England. Number 3 is Introduction to Coaching Football. This is a $122 4-week course. However, this is the first recognized coaching qualification that has been established in England. So if you're a select coach, you could probably skip the first 2 and go straight to number 3 and say, hey, I plan on coaching being more than a hobby.
Yeah.
I expect it to be kind of a side job, side career for myself. And this is step number 1, where I want to coach higher level players and kind of move along from that point forward. So the prerequisites of this are watching a safeguarding children video and taking a first aid class, which makes perfect sense. Kind of like our concussion videos,
Correct.
watching our own first aid type of stuff.
Now, I will say that those are free here in the United States. We can learn about concussions for free.
That isn't that nice. But coach, $122, I feel that's more than reasonable. It's a 4-week course.
Yeah.
Which means you're taking a class, you have an instructor. That sounds like a bargain compared to what we deal with here in America.
No, I couldn't agree more. Sorry, I was looking at my phone. I was trying to find, I guess this, again, and we don't want to, but we want to just make sure that our listeners understand what we're talking about here. I would assume that this is comparable to kind of our D-license course.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Which is like $325. And again, you don't want to die. We don't want to get hung up on the money, because we're going to get hung up on the money when we do our American breakdown. But you're getting a 4-week course where you are truly learning to teach the game of soccer, and it cost you $122. I mean,
yeah.
And I would assume that maybe one of these 4 weeks is and we say 4 weeks, and we don't mean you're doing something every single day for 28 days.
True.
You're probably meeting online twice a week, and then I would assume one of those weekends is in person where you're doing some training. But I mean, that is solid coaching training for $122. That breaks down to what, like $30 a week almost. Right. So like $30.25 a week. So I feel like I like that idea. I like what we're doing here. The prerequisites, I think you're right. I think that makes me lean towards, okay, now I'm coaching with a purpose. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that negatively to those coaches who are coaching rec or, England's version of rec. But when you're being asked to take these other courses before you can take my course, then you're clearly coaching because you want to coach.
Coach, let's move on to number 4 is the UEFA A.C.E license. This is $610. This is a 16 to 20 week course, which is basically an entire season that you're going through. And now you're learning how to set up a practice, how to run your practice, how to evaluate players, how to plan a preseason, how to plan a postseason. The ins and outs of running a club team from a season-to-season standpoint. And now you're developing your coaching style and your skill level as a coach in England. So still, $610 for basically a A.C.E license. I think that's pretty valuable. It's a full season. You're getting evaluated from a professional. He's probably telling you, hey, here's some good things that you're doing. Here's some things I want you to work on for the next time we meet up. And then you end your 16 to 20-week course with some on-field instruction in front of an evaluator. And so now he's saying, hey, here's some positives, here's some negatives, here's things I want you to work on or think about. So, we kind of have that here, but again, $610, and I think we're paying $1,200 for a A.C.E license here in America. It's more expensive. Coach, let's move on to number 5, the UEFA B license. This is $1,172. This is a 9 to 12 month course, and now we're talking about running clubs. You're talking about how to prepare high level type of players and how to keep them running at their most efficient and highest performance levels. But again, $1,100 compared to what we're dealing with here in America, it sounds almost too good to be true. And what they're offering over there. But again, you're dealing with a UEFA level coach that's teaching you these things as you go down the road.
Yeah. And again, we hate to keep harping on the money, right? But that's what it is. We are paid to play over here. We're also paid to coach over here. And, we get paid, and we get paid pretty good money as coaches where we are. And so, but, for me to have to, I don't want to talk about the United States. I love what they're doing here. So now I can pay $1,200 ultimately for a year-long course, and I'm going to learn everything I need to learn ultimately to run a year-long program. So now I'm thinking college. I'm thinking, as you mentioned, club. But I'm also thinking, kind of bigger picture things. Like, okay, I've been given the tools to run a high-level team.
Yeah, because just run through the rest of these licenses because we really want to get into what England's future is looking like. The next one, number 6, I feel is optional. This doesn't seem like it's a requirement. The Advanced Youth Award. This is a $4,000 course. This is more about coaching support. We'll follow you for a year, and you can kind of call in and say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this. Hey, I'm struggling with some issues."
And I really like this, actually.
I love this idea. I mean, you're paying for a mentor, basically, to follow you for a year.
Wow.
It was either a year or a season. I forget what it does, but I feel like a year makes more sense for that kind of a price. But you have a mentor saying, "Hey, focus on this. Look at these. Let's build your skills," and you can kind of go from there. I think we both love that idea.
I'm going to make a note of it.
Number 7 is the UEFA A license. This is a $4,400 12-month course. Now we're talking about being a DOC, running clubs, how to prepare clubs, evaluating coaches. Number 8, the final license is the UEFA Pro license. This is a $12,000 18-month course. And now we're talking about, coaching the pros.
Right.
And you're really making this about a lifelong career. You're dedicating your entire life. This is your full-time job from this point forward. Coach, let's start digging into
absolutely
what England's future plans are to, I guess, develop and grow the sport in England, which you and I believe that football over there is number 1. But it sounds like they're still competing against things like cricket and rugby.
Yeah.
There could be other sports in there we're just not aware of. They are developing a thriving grassroots game. And this is a 4-year grassroots plan from 2024 all the way through 2028 and is aimed at supporting a sustainable growth, projecting of accumulating an additional 220,000 new players to start playing soccer while creating 15,000 new teams by 2028. That sounds astronomical in England.
Yeah.
Where you feel like football is already a massive sport in there. And they're going to add another 20,000 kids and 50,000 new teams. You're talking about building, rec teams in smaller cities, building new fields. They're going to build turf fields and nice grass fields, teaching refs, teaching coaches. They're really building from the youngest age possible. So when they start getting acclimated to higher level trainings, they're already there.
And this is what it's all about, right? You can't rebuild a system and start with your oldest people, right? Or start with even your middle-aged people, right? You have to start with the people coming in because it's going to take time. There's going to be growing pains. And so you have to give opportunities for those growing pains to happen, but then you're still a part of our company. You're still a part of our system. You're still a part of our club, right? I can throw a ton of great ideas at my junior in high school, but they're only going to be with me for another 2 years, maybe, right? And so that doesn't trickle down, right? I think I like what they're doing because what they're doing is things are going to trickle up because these kids are going to continue to move up through their ranks. And so you're going to have that process of things trickling up. So I love the fact that their game plan has been, all right, let's target the grassroots area.
Coach, just focus on what they're looking at. There are 5 priority areas of, I guess, the whole concept of the grassroots game plan. Number 1, improving playing choice and opportunities. They really want to focus on improving fields, building more fields. They also want to focus on their girls programs, getting that developed. and getting into more of the rural areas of England and make sure they all have opportunities and choices to join teams. Second thing, deliver equal opportunities for women and girls to play, what I just discussed. Third thing, build more and improve existing facilities. Talk about something we need in America. How many crappy fields have we played on where I'm pretty sure someone's going to break their ankle?
Yep.
Number 4, tackle poor behavior. This is probably a worldwide issue. This is not just an American issue.
No, I agree.
You've always got that crazy parent on one team that's just ridiculous, and they're focusing on eliminating those parents from the field, either banning them or whatever it may be. But getting parents to understand, hey, it's about the kids. It's not about you. Let's bring it down a notch. The final thing, develop a value network of volunteers, meaning coaches and refs, while also training them and coaching them along the way, and make sure everybody's, as we said, informed and properly in an understanding of what their expectations are going through whatever they're doing.
I guess for me, first of all, I love that, they don't just come out and say, hey, we're going to get more kids involved in our grassroots, right? That's our plan. From 2024 to 2028, we're going to make more kids like soccer.
Yeah.
They said, hey, we're going to make more kids like soccer. We're going to make more kids play soccer. And here's how we're going to do it, right? So the biggest one that jumps out to me, D, tackle poor behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of attack that as a coach, parent, spectator thing. For me, I would love to talk to someone about tackling poor behavior from grassroots players. We all know those kids who show up at training and they walk in and you're like, oh crap, right? Because now I'm not in. I don't mean this. Well, I guess I do mean it negatively, but now I'm not a coach. Now I'm a babysitter.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Yeah.
We know that parent is dropping that child off not because they want that child to play soccer, but because they want you to deal with them for 90 minutes.
That's probably true,
right?
And they're being forced.
Oh yeah,
to play a sport that they want nothing to do with.
Have no desire.
I think we all understand. All parents want their kid to be involved in something.
Yeah.
But maybe sports isn't their thing. Maybe
find
soccer
their niche.
isn't their thing.
Find their niche.
Ask them what they want to do. And if your kid says, I don't want to do anything, okay, we need to come to an agreement. We're going to find something whether you like it or not. But sometimes it's so obvious that it's being forced upon them. They're probably acting out because of that.
I could not agree more. And so maybe that does go back to the parents, but I would love to know what they're doing with those types of players. Are they able to look at those types of players and say, hey, fix it or you're not welcomed back? Or do they just do what kind of we do and the kid shows up and they're like, oh crap, Chris is here.
All right, Coach, let's dig into the key drivers that they plan to deliver this grassroots plan. Number 1, support thriving community clubs. Just like here, we could use some support from a national program to help us grow. What we really need is we need more coaches, and we need more trained coaches, and we need more kids to get involved in it. Of course, we're in a small community here.
We are.
But I love their idea of supporting community clubs. Next, they want to connect and serve participants, volunteer coaches, volunteer referees, young referees learning the game.
Yeah, that's big.
We've discussed this many times where we have a referee shortage. And it sounds like they're trying to say, hey, let's find out where the issue is. Mm-hmm. Let's try to train people and find a way to retain these younger referees instead of people chasing them off. We're going to tackle poor behavior with the players and the parents and the coaches. And let's make sure these refs stick around because they're not being berated every single game.
You took the words right out of my mouth, right? I mean, those two literally tie together. They go hand in hand, right?
Third thing is progress the game's governance. So they're going to make sure everyone's under the same rules and those rules are being followed, which I think is a great idea. That I feel like is going to be pretty difficult to manage. I'm curious how they're going to make that work because, like where we are in rural areas, it's probably a little bit easier to kind of get away with things or change the rules on your own. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to govern the progress of this grassroots plan.
This one is so big for me, and we have less than 5 minutes left in this episode that we want to do. But this is the one that I'm most intrigued by because where we are, I am not speaking for the United States as a whole, but where we are, things are not governed the same way.
Oh, big time.
Club by club. And
yeah,
we all know who
we know nothing
but it's different. And so now we're also in this on this seesaw with the whole birth year, grade year episode, right?
Those changes.
Who's going to govern that? Who's going to make sure that everyone's doing the same way?
Yeah.
Because U.S. Soccer has made it very clear that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
We're going to leave it up to the clubs. Well, that puts a lot of clubs at a disadvantage. Yeah. It puts a lot of clubs at an advantage. And so I would love to know their process behind this, how they're going to do this, because I think, and we'll talk about this more when we dive into the American side of things, but I think this is such. If you ask me what are the two biggest issues in American grassroots soccer right now, my two answers would be the money and then this right here. Things aren't equal across the board. Things aren't the same from club to club. And so you're putting players, coaches, referees, parents, you're putting certain people at a disadvantage and you're also raising certain people up. And that is a major issue here.
Coach, let's start wrapping things up here. Just as you said here, one of their plans is to make sure that all of the networks throughout the nation are adapting the same strategy for national and local acceptance. Again, the question is, how are they going to govern that? We know exactly how that looks. The other big thing that they're looking at here is the social and economic impact, where they feel that the value of this grassroots plan equates to about $19.4 billion into their society each year, which is up from $12.4 billion of previous years. And that's really giving back to a community, to a society. And it's a cycle. It's just recycling itself. They put in, society puts in, it just recycles itself. And if they can continue to add 220,000 players every 4 years, their national program will have a clear.
Yeah.
It's not just building the players; it's the amount of players that they're developing now. Now you've got, instead of 1 million players that are being developed, you've got almost 2 million that are probably being developed by the time they're getting their teens and early 20s. So we feel like the Americans have fallen behind massively because of this program. We need a good grassroots program, and we're kind of envious of this whole situation.
Well, and that's what this is all about, right? We want to develop children. We want people to love the game. We want, all those things. But one of the ultimate goals of any youth soccer program or any college soccer, is to get to the next level, right? Yeah. And we want to succeed in World Cups and Olympics and things like that. And so I love that England is trying to do that through the grassroots game.
Absolutely, Coach. Folks, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. This is the England Grassroots Plan. Let us know how you feel about the grassroots plan going on in England, and if you think it would be successful here in America, or maybe you've got a different idea of what America needs to develop our game plan to help our national team to get to a world-class level. My name is Coach Dunham. This is Coach Hamilton. We are the A.C.E Football Academy. Go kick some ace.